Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks. We have a special episode today on Dementia Chats, which is one of our programs on Alzheimer's Speaks. And today's topic is going to be about communication and living in the moment. I know you're going to enjoy it. Well, welcome, everyone, to Dementia Chats. We're going to have another wonderful conversation with our panel of experts, all diagnosed with a form of dementia. I always learn so much from them. My name is Lori La Bey. I'm the founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, and I facilitate these conversations. I just think it's really important to hear from those living with this disease. They teach us so much, and they have such great insight. So I know you're going to enjoy this conversation. Today, we're going to be talking about learning to live in the moment. You know, how do you live your best life? How do you stay on track? There's so many things that pop up in society that can be distractions. There's technology that's supposed to help us, but does it really? Our relationships change. So we're going to talk a little bit about everything, but first we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. So Craig, do you want to go first and introduce yourself?
Sure. Craig Hanke, from Wisconsin, diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's in 2014. Since then, they ruled Parkinson's out, and went through a bunch of different diagnosis changes to now it's just mild cognitive impairment with Lewy body trait. Just turned 65.
Wonderful. Thank you, Craig. True, do you want to go next?
Full legal name is Truthful Loving Kindness, and my diagnosis has also been changed to mild cognitive impairment with Lewy body symptoms and cerebrovascular disease.
Okay, thank you. Wally, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Wally Cox, and I have dementia. It's been identified 3 or 4 or 5 different ways in the last 10 years or so as I've gone through this journey. But I'm 6 years past the date I was told I'd be dead. So it's nice to be here and celebrating our time together. And it's just proof that if you've been diagnosed, doesn't mean it's whatever they tell you is correct. So don't give up.
Well, that's for sure. We just did a dementia video on living 10 to 20 years with dementia. Mm-hmm. Blow that stigma out the window there is really important. Kate, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Cate Lau. I live in Illinois. In 2012, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I was on every medication you could think of, and I was really, really sick. So I asked for a retest from a neuropsych, and the result of that was I did not have Alzheimer's, but I have behavior variant frontotemporal dementia. And so that's 10 years ago, and I'm living well. There are certain things that I've lost, my skills, but I can still converse and I can still write a little. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Ginger, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ginger from beautiful Northern California. I'm a retired speech language pathologist who 10 years ago was diagnosed with Lewy body, but my current diagnosis is mild cognitive impairment.
Okay, thank you. Well, Wally, you brought up this topic about learning to live in the moment and the importance of connection. So I'm going to have you go ahead and start. What are some of your tips or things that you've gone through that you can share with others that might help them live in the moment?
Well, years ago, I've been married to the same wonderful person since I was 20 years old. She had just graduated from high school the day before. So we've been together a long time. And she got ill and was diagnosed with lupus. Pretty bad case of lupus. And she had been feeling really poorly, and we went to a specialist up in Northern California, and she had gotten sicker and sicker, and he said maybe she's got a very little time left, and you need to enjoy what time you have together. And my reaction, unfortunately, was to get really angry. And I didn't understand it because I'm not fundamentally an angry person. And so I went to counseling to understand why I was not reacting the way I understood I probably should be, and the guilt I felt over, not being, I didn't know what was going on, He said, well, what you're doing is you're building walls between you and your wife. And he says, you're doing that because you're trying to protect yourself from the pain of the inevitable separation of her death. And you got 3 kids at home, it's your first love, and you're thinking, holy crap, what am I doing here, right? And so I started building a wall between me and her, which I didn't really want to do. So he gave us some lessons and stuff and taught us how to connect properly. Fast forward a few years later, then she's really sick, and we think, well, this is the time she's stepping into eternity. She's in the ICU and what's called grave condition. They can't even get her in a helicopter. She keeps coding. Ends up she's got her lupus has given her clotting storm, blah, blah, blah. She's not going to survive. Well, it ends up she does. It's a miracle, but she did. And she told me after she could communicate with me, which was weeks really after her storm and she had lived through, that how important it was to her to know that I was there for her, that we were connected heart to heart. What a difference it made in that part of her journey as opposed to previously when she had been sick. And she thought, one time I'm stepping into eternity and, at least Wally's here with me. So then you fast forward another 15, 20 years, whatever, and who knows, in my brain, I can't get the dates right, but we go to the doctor's office and he says, after all this testing, looks like you have Alzheimer's disease. You probably have about 4 years left to live. 2 of them at home, most likely 2 of them in an institution. You need to go home and do your best. Make some plans. So, we walk out the door and my wife says to me as we're driving down the road, how do you feel about this? I go, I don't know. She goes, well, I want you to know I'll never leave you. She's building connections, right? But I go home and what's the first thing I start doing? I start building a wall between her and me because I can't stand the emotional angst of my diagnosis, the fear, the depression, all the things that I'm feeling, and I'm wallowing in my self-pity, understandably, I think, at the time. But, I just am confused, and I start putting distance between me and her. So then she says to me, you remember what we did a long time ago when I was sick and the doctor said about building walls and connections? She goes, I go, yeah, my wife's a lovely person. She goes, you're building walls, not connections with me and your children, your friends. You're hiding. And so I got involved in groups like this, realized that it's okay to talk about dementia. You don't have to hide in fear. And I was invited to give a talk one time. And so I did a little bit of doodling to kind of illustrate where I was at. So if it's okay, I'll show you the doodle and then we can go from there. Yes. So the first thing I showed people was is this. So this is me building walls. This is my wife on the other side. So all these stones, you got anxiety and pain and death and all these things. I'm building this wall between me and her so we're not connected. Because this is what I'm seeing. I'm like, those little merry-go-rounds and playgrounds that you get on and you spin your sister real fast and then she gets off and walks around in circles and throws up on her shoes and it's a successful time, right? I was on one of those and I was standing on this, staring at the inside of the merry-go-round, looking at all the things that could go wrong in my life. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. This is real off the cuff, so bear with me while I look. But I got pain, rejection, alone, despair, loss, worry, fear, and Alzheimer's is this theme here on this particular one. It could be dementia, Lewy body, cancer, pick your poison. And I'm on this looking in like this. What I realized is that even though, and this is true, it's all there. Yeah. Okay? But what I needed to do was stand on the merry-go-round and look outwards. So I drew a picture, this is the back of my head, looking outwards and seeing that I have friends that are saying, hey, we miss you. I got my family. I got camping and playing with my dog, having barbecues. Those still existed. But I had chosen to look away from the things that are positive, and I was focused on the negative. A lot of it because of the things we hear and we learn about dementia and Alzheimer's and the horror of it, and what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to react. Like everybody else, I'm like, holy moly, here we go. And not understanding that if you look at the top of this, every day is a choice. So this is my last piece I'll show you, and then I'll leave you alone as far as this goes. But last year, they were doing a dementia thing, and I wasn't around to do it, but I started thinking about how I would like to set up a display to talk to people about dementia, because I live in rural California up north, and there's nothing for anybody up here, period. And I even had professionals say, oh, yeah, there has to be. I'll look into it for you. And then they call me back and go, there's nothing up there, period. You can ask Truthful Kindness. She lives over in Fort Bragg. She'll tell you there's nothing. So people go in, get diagnosed, get told it's all over but the sing and go home, and they're like, ugh. Okay. So I said, this is what I would design. I would put up a booth, and I would put every day as a choice, and I would have a display where I would have the can you see this okay? The buzzard with all the negative words on it, and a dove with all the positive things on it, like hug my friends, help where I can, find laughter and joy, build relationships, time to live and love. Each of these are like a road sign, right? So which direction do you want to go? Do you want to go negative? Do you want to go positive? You want to go down? You want to go up? So I try to, I'm human, but I try to pick every day a path that's going to lead me to joy, not one that leads me to fear and sadness. And that's my message today for anybody that's listening, particularly if you've been recently diagnosed, that there's a lot that you can still do. And are you going to be frustrated? Yes. Are you going to have hard times? Yes. But, you aren't gone yet. There's still a lot you can accomplish. So staying in the moment.
What a great message, Wally. That was wonderful. And then with your visuals and stuff, that was absolutely fantastic. And, I think too, and again, I haven't been diagnosed with a chronic illness, but I can see where it would be really easy to go down, kind of that vulture's path of negativity. And I think it's normal for everyone to process that stuff initially. But again, in all of life, all of our lives, every single day, we always have a choice. And I think it's really important, especially once you have a chronic illness or some kind of chaos in your life, to remember that, and I don't think it's a message that we can hear enough of, because I think we all need reminders, because it's easy to all of a sudden take a detour, even though you want to go the positive way, to all of a sudden, gosh, how did I get over here? I don't even know how it happened. And to help each other, get back on path. So thank you for sharing. Craig?
I really like that, Wally. In fact, pretty much described my whole life, especially the last 3 months. I always talk about this person, and it turns out that person is me. Back when I was in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was smarter, should have stayed with that gig. There was an older gentleman in there, and he always told us that if you hold on to yesterday with this hand and hold on to tomorrow with this hand, you have nothing to hold on to today with. And I'm that person. Been finding out that the other day we were talking to my mom, and he said that you always worry about the dumbest things. I was looking up possible symptoms of what I've been going through, and she's on the internet, and she goes, "What did they tell you about the internet and looking things up?" She'll stay off of there. You're self-diagnosing yourself, and you're worrywart. You've been a worrywart since the day I've known you, and wow. My wife says I've done nothing, but yeah. Well, she's right. My wife said that you've been very negative. Like everything you say is negative. But I talked with my therapist on Monday, actually, yesterday, and we were talking about the thing in Ukraine, all the stuff in all the universities here going on, and just a number of topics. And she said, "Yeah, but what can you do about it?" I said, "Outside of voting, probably not a whole lot." She was like, "Why are you worried about it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the same thing, when you first tell you, they said you have, like you said, they tell you have this dementia, give you a bunch of pills, and say, "Go home and get your affairs in order." And I was supposed to be dead 3 years ago. So, but yeah, I need to learn that, exactly what you said, that there's two ways of looking at things. This Sadie Robertson, she was on a show called Duck Dynasty, and now she's married and she has a wedding. She's a minister, and she goes around the country in these big events preaching, and a huge following. And the other day, for some reason, a video popped up about her wedding, and I watched it, and it brought me to tears. And then yesterday afternoon, I had my wife sit down with me, and we watched it. I said, he had all these things about promising that I'm going to be your rock, I'm going to be your place to go to, your best friend, and all these promises and things. And I said, that was us 44 years ago. What happened? Not that we're facing divorce or anything, but it was eye-opening. And part of it was because of the dementia, where we went out to eat Friday and Saturday night at this restaurant that used to be a hall where we had our wedding reception. And she said, "Remember this and remember that?" And I was like, I was saying, "Yeah, oh yeah, I remember that. That was there." And I didn't remember any of it. So but yeah, you have to look to the future, and I tell myself that, like, live every day as it might be the last, but then I don't do it, and it's like, Urgh. But we just went through a thing with finances. It took since last June for our government to find 46 cents that was missing in cyberspace, and they wouldn't pay my wife what she gets paid to watch me, so I don't do stupid things. And it was hard. We were like a paycheck away from living on the street. They finally got it straightened out, and I think the 10th she starts getting paid again, which is going to help a lot. And you never know. There's a lot of blessings too that you take for granted. For instance, she said, "I wonder if you got a pension coming from this company you work for." I said, "I doubt it. They went bankrupt." So she calls and she gets transferred to this. There's a pension benefit company that took over, the government agency that took over the company when they went belly up. And he said, "Well, yeah, he's got a pension. He was there almost 30 years. I said, "Really? How much is it?" And he said, "It'll be, give or take, $25 a month. It'll be about $451 a month starting July 1st. I was like, wow. So, yeah, you have to, I love that talk, and I would come to your thing. We have that displayed because it makes a lot of sense. But, we'll get into the AI stuff in that later. But Drew was talking about AI, and I said, I have trouble with my own lack of intelligence without trying to get into artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Craig. When you find yourself really down, is there one thing that you do to try to pull yourself back on track to that positive side?
Well, one is talking to my mom. Second, which I always forget. The therapist one time too, she said, because I had this thing with eating lately because of the stress. I was eating and just it got out of control. And she said, "Is this something that God would want you to do?" And I was like, "You know what? No, He wouldn't." So she would start leaning more on your God and your faith, and use that like He's right next to you, because actually He is, and He's walking this walk with you. So don't forget that. So I've been trying to use that a lot lately too. So just being around family and friends. Try to be, because like I said, I think this happened to a lot of us, that when you get diagnosed, it's like you have the plague or something. It's like family and friends either leave you because they're afraid or they don't know how to treat you or talk to you. But and even still, we got an old friend that he keeps it. We got to get together. And I invited him out to eat Friday night, and we're going. And then at the last minute, it's always, I have to take a rain check. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our friendships are just plain gone.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the nice things about, and I think a lot of people don't know about all these groups, like DAA and Dementia Mentors and Dementia Minds and what we do here. There's tons of these out, or Harry Urban's Forget Me Not on Facebook. I mean, there's so many things where people can make new peers. And that is so important to have those connections. It makes us feel relevant, and part of a community, and we can be supportive and we can get support, and, just be your authentic self. Because, what I hear from you guys all the time is, when people get diagnosed, how scary it is. And do I tell people, do I let them know what's really going on? Or when I do, they don't understand. And why did I bother? And I mean, there's a lot of turmoil with this kind of stuff. And so it's important to know, that people come and go in your life. And sometimes it's time to switch it up. If they're not supporting you, if they're not feeding your soul, find your tribe. Our tribes change in our life. We can all look back at friendships that have come and gone over the years, and this is another time. Did you have a comment, Wally?
C.S. Lewis said, the quickest path to friendship, this is not exact quote, but quickest path to friendship is what? You too? I thought I was the only one.
Yep.
And when you get into these groups through DAA, DAI, all these different things, and you find out that, no, you're not the only one that put your wallet in the freezer. You're not the only one that erupted in anger because your wife asked you to pick up your socks, but you should have done it in the first place, and you overreacted, or any of these other aberrant behaviors, and you find out that, no, this is a shared experience. And I think shared experiences are what build friendships. But I also think that a lot of us come into this with a kind of a chip on our shoulder of expecting people to know how to deal with us, even though we wouldn't have known how to do it if they'd come to us and said they have dementia. And we have to allow grace in people's lives and allow people to ask us questions or feel free to ask us questions. So I think that you got to have an attitude of openness and friendship towards people. Mm-hmm. And you got to be a friend to have a friend.
Yep.
Go out of your way. Call a buddy up, say, I want to buy you lunch. It's been a long time. And I just want to reconnect and say hello and tell you I miss you. Maybe you'll go, maybe you won't. But if you don't try, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Craig?
2 quick things and I'll zip it. I found with dementia, it doesn't matter who you are, what your age is, what your profession is. It hits everybody. But yeah. And then one word of advice, don't put a can of pork and beans unopened in the microwave. It doesn't. That didn't work out so well for me. It was a couple weeks ago.
Okay, thanks. True, do you want to go next?
I don't remember.
We're talking about learning to live in the moment and about connections.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking that I think it is important to remember that grief is necessary. Grief is necessary, so you need to allow your time, allow time and energy for grief, and then you can look toward the positive. But if you do not allow yourself that time for the grief, you can get in the ditch of you stuffed it. Mm-hmm. And then everything is just kind of fakey. Mm-hmm. And you don't want that. You want to have the balance of acknowledging the negatives, but focusing on the positives. And that can only happen after you have allowed yourself, at any rate. Yeah.
That's really important, being able to be your authentic self, with people and allowing them to be their authentic self, that acceptance.
Yeah. And it's a very, it's not a one-time thing. Like right now, I have been in a much lower abilities for like 10 days that I don't associate with I don't at least have an acknowledged infection going on right now. And so I'm kind of in a little bit of a grieving spot right now, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But because I have that balance of acknowledging both, I can see that, sooner or later it'll take at least a little bit of an upswing because that's how it goes.
Very true. And I think that was really important to mention because, we talk about living in the moment and being connected. And a lot of times people think living in the moment is only about joy. Mm-hmm. And that's where we all want to land, for sure. But there's all these other emotions that we experience. And it's still positive to feel those things. We just have to monitor how much time we spend. And to me, and again, everyone looks at this different, but to me, it's about moving through those emotions, because otherwise you bottle them up. And like Wally said, you're going to pop like a top a little sooner, when your wife asks you to pick up your socks or do whatever, as he stated earlier. So thank you, True. Ginger, how about you? What are your thoughts on learning to live in the moment?
Well, that was just beautiful. True. Just like you are so beautiful. I 10 years ago, when I was 84, I ended up in a nursing home and had a near-death experience. And I am convinced that I came back in order to do advocacy for dementia, to be able to talk about what happened and to explain to caregivers and people through DAA and you and other programs where I might be able to come up and help people. That's kind of my passion, is I have something to share. Plus, being a speech pathologist and working in Stanford's neurology clinic, I have a somewhat expertise there too. So I get very emotional, and I love to explain things. That's kind of part of my personality, I guess. And that's what keeps me in the moment. The advocacy, I guess I could call it advocacy, is what I've got. Writing my memoir takes me back to things that were pretty horrific. And then I have to bring myself back. Like you asked, what gives you joy? What I have is I have this beautiful window And I look on this lagoon that's right in front of my window, and I just see a squirrel just now. And nature, I don't know what you call it. Sometimes I have word finding. Nature makes me feel alive and gives me a sense of peace. And I think we all need that in order to go on with our diagnoses and how we handle everything. And that's what helps me right now. So advocacy and nature. I was kind of summed it up.
Right. Well, and I think that's really important because when we feel purposeful, it lifts us up. We feel connected. We feel like we belong. And I think so often, especially in this day and age where everything's so divisive, it's real easy to feel like you don't fit in and you don't belong. And so again, finding your tribe and hearing from people on the work that you're doing, if it's like True and Wally both do artwork and they push it out and so many others, it's just absolutely gorgeous, and they work hard on that. And it lifts all of us up, by sharing their talents. And, you're sharing your advocacy. Same with Kate and with Craig, you guys are all so connected and graciously sharing what it's like, which, I think it was Wally in his quote, when you take away that loneliness feeling, you automatically feel connected. And that's a big hurdle to get over. And so opening up the door, having the conversation, allowing people to have that grace is really important and has a huge impact not only on you but everyone else as well. So
yeah, Jerry, I was in a nursing home during COVID, so you can imagine what that was like. No visitors, all alone. Just so when I came home, I was still pretty out of it, and they introduced me to Zoom. I didn't know what Zoom was. Thank goodness for elders. And I can say Zoom has opened up my world, and I'm thankful for it. That if it had to happen, it came at a good time, and Zoom was available.
Yeah. Well, and you look at where we're all located all over the world, and Jennifer's not with us today, but she's over in the UK and many times joins us and stuff. I mean, it really does broaden the possibilities, of who you can connect to and the conversations that you can have and the purpose and the joy that you can, give and extract from those conversations. Kate, how about you? How do you live in the moment? How do you view that?
Oh, everybody has shared so many good things here. I'm just listening and forgot that I get my turn to say something. And I'm totally, I would say, you're talking about being disconnected, right? It's so easy to be disconnected rather than to be connected, because when you have dementia, you are surrounded by all this negativity of it. You've heard of people with it. Ginger has worked with people in neurology. I've worked with patients, that have dementia or Parkinson's, and it's just the mindset. It's all about mindset, And then I feel a lot lost because kids are grown and gone, and the ones that are close by, kids nowadays are different. They don't come to mom's house and, get into the refrigerator like I did when I was their age. Things are different now. They're so independent. So it's easy to sink into depression, into self-pitifulness, and say, oh, you know what? I didn't know that I'm going to grow old like this. Next thing I know, I'll be in a nursing home because nobody comes and see me. Nobody cares. Just get out of that rotten thinking, because I just have to totally reach in there and get out of it, or else I'll sink. I've learned that much, So I have to really be present. The minute I feel that I'm sinking or slightly getting depressed, I've got to get a hold of myself mentally and tell myself, okay, none of that, and don't think about the kids. You've put them first all your life. No, put yourself. And then right away, I feel like maybe I can still write. Do I do it? No. Whatever it is that draws me back. But I say, okay, if I write for myself, then I've got to write the goodness and the not so good in life. I don't know how to lie. I don't know how to pretend that everything was coming up roses, daisies, whatever, So yeah, literally with behavior variant, I don't know about the other dementias. I'm not lessening them, but I'm thinking that, oh, minds are just, having fun in there. It's just like the monkey mind and whatever old mind. Keep on. It takes all of me, and I advocate so much for online groups like Dementia Mentors, Forget Me Not, and all that. Purpose. That gives me purpose. Even if I have nothing to give, just being in the company of friends, because you've lost your friends, remember, in the real world, and these are now your friends, your new friends, your new family. It gives you purpose. It gives you say that, I feel a bit uplifted because I'm amongst people that hear and can understand. Don't underestimate Zoom groups. I think it has done wonders for myself and a lot of friends. And sometimes in the early days, I was needy and I wasn't this sick. I just was there at every chat for everything, on Facebook. I think I have mellowed some, and also I have picked up 3 immunocompromised diseases that's incurable, and I'm also on infusion/chemo, and it makes me appreciate life so much more. It's not all dementia, because if I were to sort out where the bumps are that's coming up under my skin right now, I would think, it's my lymph nodes or whatever. There's 10 million things, but what if it's my RA or lupus or whatever? It's no end to it. It's no end. We've got to really make an effort, and don't just say, I want to do this. No, do it. Just get up of the chair where you're sitting down and feeling down, and just get up and do it. And say, okay, if I sign on, maybe I'll see True today because she hasn't been on in a while, Now I see True, she's always smiling, and, it cheers me up. But also, I'm very sensitive to this. There's people that's in a group sometimes. I'm not saying a specific person. We are still people. We are still us, are all us. Get a bad attitude or rude or something, I quickly just sign off before it gets into me. Because I know my dementia self is going to have fun with it and said, don't go, And we're quick to we're quick to feel negative. Not we. I am quick. I am the only one here with BVFTD. So I am quick to pick up on things like that. So I quickly remove myself. Can't remove the other person. So, remove yourself and come back another time, and that person might be in a better mood. As far as friends are concerned, I used to have tons and tons of friends. I don't know why. I don't run into them anymore. I don't see them. Don't blame them. I self-isolate. Because I never know in 5 minutes how I feel. I cannot go out with people because I made appointments and I broke them because I suddenly feel dizzy or faint. Is one of the illnesses that I have. And besides, I feel like if you go out with people and they only want to talk is about your sickness, who wants to be around you anyway? So if I'm not in a good mood, I isolate myself until I feel better. And now more and more things are lost because I can't garden. That's my joy, Like Ginger, I'm in touch with nature. And I can't do that anymore because my legs cannot even stand up for too long. So I hired somebody. I'm not staying with my husband. He lives in a big place and I cannot do the stairs anymore. So I hired somebody to take care of my husband's yard so I can micromanage the yard. I say, that should go in there and there and there. But then I bend down and I pick out a weed or something, and then my whole cervical spinal stenosis that is tearing up my spine just screams at me, and I just, I'm out of whack for I don't know how long. But the one thing to be in touch so badly, especially when you have no more friends, no more kids, no more, and a lot of diseases around you. That's just me.
Have you ever thought of getting like a raised bed so you don't have to bend over? Or even one where you could put a chair at that level and still be able to do some
I do actually.
gardening?
Thank you for that. Actually, I bought a few of those wooden ones from Lowe's or whatever, and I put them all over his porch so I could tinker with stuff. But then a lot of stuff like hostas have to be in ground after a while. And then I've got to battle squirrels eating my hostas and shooing them and getting a BB gun to go and shoot. Shooting squirrels and bunnies and, cute little things that people want for pets. I don't know why. Yeah, I do have a couple of those, but they're not as satisfying and getting on your knees and in the dirt and just, get all them dandelions out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. That was great information too. Again, finding yourself in those other groups, realizing how valuable Zoom is. And I think so often people, especially initially when it first came out, people thought you couldn't have real relationships over Zoom.
Oh.
And I think people are finding that they can be very, very effective. And again, I think it gets back to the core of what Wally was saying with that quote. It's like, oh, you're going through the same thing I'm going through. It takes away that loneliness, and you have that common bond. And when you find that string of common bonds, you have more authentic conversations instead of talking about the sports games and the weather. I mean, you're really talking about what's going on, and it's easier to share your whole self, I think, when you have those common bonds like that, because the other person understands what you're going through. Craig?
I always say, too, to some of the new people that come in the groups that you can feel comfortable here because we speak your language.
Mm-hmm.
We know if you're having a bad day, what word you're trying to come up with and things like that. But, yeah, and this is important, too, because my mom has, it's called Portal, Facebook Portal. It's a machine like a laptop, but it's like a little miniature old TV set. And she can talk to anybody that's on Facebook, and it makes her day. Right now, where she lives, she has Wi-Fi, but not internet. And internet is what allows my mom to ask. She calls it the bee in the box. But Alexa, I think it is. She asks what the weather is and this and that, and she loves it. But I have two wonderful therapists. One is the one that's dealing with the emotions of having dementia, and the other one is treating this PTSD that I have from working in a prison. And she had told me the other day, I asked her, I said, well, why is it that I can remember these things that happened in the prison so vividly, and I can remember song lyrics from when I was a teenager and all the words, but I can't remember if I took my pills this morning, what I had for breakfast this morning. And she said, well, it's a good point. She said, if you can remember those song lyrics and and how they sound, sing till your heart's content. Sing those songs, sing those words.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you can do and do it well. If you can't, like I said, if I take a tape measure out now, it makes no sense to me. She goes, well, then stop using the tape measure. Mm-hmm. And she said, you said you play guitar, you're trying to learn guitar. I said, yeah, and it's not working so well. She goes, well, play it like you know how to play it. Who cares? Have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm starting to do that kind of thing now too. Enjoy the things that you can and stop worrying about if a tornado is going to hit your house, because if it's going to hit your house, it's going to hit your house, kind of thing.
Yep. That's true. And it's really easy to worry about stuff we can't control. Kate?
I have a question, Craig. True. With Lewy body, do you also have better long-term memory than short-term?
On certain things, like I said, songs and words to songs, but I couldn't remember our wedding reception.
Yeah, chunks of
our
things.
wedding was on the altar, sweating like crazy because it was 96 degrees out and humid. But short term is, it's shot.
Yeah.
I don't know about true. But
I'm pretty fortunate that I kept most of my memory, and I remember every single hallucination. It's like I could watch it like there's a movie in my head of all of them, and it helps with writing my memoir, of course, because I can describe what hallucinations are. And one trick I learned is I use lucid dreaming. Has anybody heard of it? You've heard of lucid dreaming? Okay, well, I used to change my angry, mean, vicious snake into a pretty pet snake. Yeah, and I was the snake, my hallucination, and I use it to. I just used it just last night. I've changed a dream that was kind of awful into something really pleasant. So that's one of the things I would like to share with caregivers, especially, that something that could be taught to people that have to be fairly early in their dementia. I mean, if it's, they have to be able to learn and new things, which is kind of hard as the dementia progresses. But that would be something I have actually taught some people that already. It's something I think kind of a little gift I have to give people.
Yes, absolutely.
Did I hear it before that you said you're 10 years plus of 84? Did you say you're 10 years plus of 84?
Yeah, she did. I heard that.
You're 94. Is that what?
I'm going to be 87 next month.
Oh, okay. I heard it wrong. I thought you said you're 84.
I'm 84 right now. Yeah. Okay. Young at heart. Young at heart.
Couldn't tell.
Yeah, me too. I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything that they want to add to this conversation?
Yes.
Okay. Can I go to Wally first and then I come back to you?
Of course.
Okay. Wally?
I was thinking about what we were talking about and today, just the different things, and just a couple of thoughts. One is that when I used to teach motorcycle safety, particularly with off-road bikes, dirt bikes and ATVs, and I used to tell people that quit looking where you don't want to go. When you're coming down a trail and you see a tree and you say, oh, there's a tree, I don't want to hit the tree, you have a tendency to steer towards the things you don't want to hit because you're looking at. And that's kind of the way life is too. So stop looking at the things you don't want to see. Look at the things you want to see. If the news drives you nuts, don't watch the news, because quite frankly, there's not much we can do about what's going on in anything, and you don't have a voice that's going to make a big change. And maybe pay attention the week before the election and figure out who you want to vote for and then vote, but don't worry about a year in advance, because they feed on our fears. They feed on driving you nuts. So avoid it. Mm-hmm. Watch things that lift you up, not put you down. Spend your time, if you're a Christian or Jewish, you love the Bible, then you spend your time in the Bible, and the things, the wisdom that's in there. There's great wisdom in there, just like there is in other things too, but there's great wisdom. So spend your time in there, steep in it. That's a good place to go. Good advice. God tells us, don't worry about tomorrow. You only got today, and I'm with you. So that's all you got. Screw the rest of it. It's my Christian words for the day.
Thank you, Wally. Kate, do you want to go? You had a comment too?
Yes. For those people who are watching or listening to this, don't think that just because we have dementia, our chats are all about our forgetfulness. You can get so much out of this. Like, I didn't know about AI until I came on one of Lori's chats, and Lori and I was talking about AI, and I was asking her. So now I'm quite AI savvy. And then also with the online groups and stuff, I encourage you to join an online group if you're a caregiver or a family member or somebody with dementia, because I have benefited from it so very much.
Yep. And there's all different types of groups out there. If one doesn't work, don't categorize them all the same. They're all very different, and different people show up at different times, and you'll really find your niche, I think, out there. You know, your tribe is waiting for you to show up. Craig, you had a comment?
Just one quick thing. I've been learning too that because I don't know how to read a tape measure anymore, don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
If it's something you can't do, then just take it in stride and find something that you can do. But don't beat yourself up because you have the disease or you can't do what you used to be able to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had an eye-opening thing when I got the paperwork for that pension yesterday. You can take it in a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year. I said, why would I want it 15 years? And I looked at that and I said, in 15 years, I'm going to be 80. It's like, what? Where did that come from? So don't beat yourself up over this stuff. It's not worth it.
Yep. Good advice. Ginger, you had a comment?
Well, I just remember one of my patients was Ram Dass. I don't know if you guys remember him. He wrote the book Be Here Now. And, I think that's a good saying is be here now.
Yep. Yep. Very true. And True, was there anything that you wanted to add in our wrap up?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your wisdom that you shared and your insights. One of the things that I always say is what's good for dementia is good for all of us. And so if you have dementia or not, you are going to learn from this in how to live life, I think, better by living in the moment through the conversations today, because everything that was shared is good for everybody at any stage of life, really. And, these to me are the things that we need to start teaching our kids at an earlier age and being, open about having these conversations, because it would make it a lot easier on us as adults if we had these conversations earlier on. We would be able to kind of assess and identify and be thankful and be able to share information like this. I really thank each and every one of you for your contributions today. To our listeners, I hope you become one of our givers of hope and like, click, and share so that other people can see this wonderful wisdom at hand here through Dementia Chats. You can always go to our website, which we'll have in the show notes, and access all of these. We've been doing these for years, so there's all different types of topics. And if you're living with dementia and would like to be part of the panel, just reach out to me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, through email, phone. We'll have all that information in the show notes as well. So again, thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Okay.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebestier, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people can just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday, without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.